about? He said, the house is on fire. I left a few minutes ago. I saw the smoke. I'm running back. The police tried to stop me, but I'm running down our road. And I said, call me back on FaceTime. And I'm standing there waiting, and I'm just in shock. I thought, what could have happened? And it took him a minute because he tried to get in the house because we had 3 dogs. In the house, and he opened up the door, and just black smoke, I guess, came out, and he could see the stairs on fire. It was fully engulfed in flame, and fireman pulled him back and said, no, you can't go in there. And so he pulled back and called me on FaceTime and showed me, and the whole thing was in flames.
Wow.
Yeah.
In our last episode, Randy discussed the sequence of events he and his family went through before, during, and after his house, his dogs, and all his belongings were completely destroyed in a fire. In this episode, Randy talks about what they did to deal with the tragedy and move forward. He offers some good advice for what people should do to make the aftermath easier to handle should somebody else have to deal with the same tragedy. As a reminder, in 2021, a small brush fire quickly got out of control and rapidly spread to Randy's home, completely engulfing it in flame. There was nothing left. The fire happened on a Sunday. Randy couldn't make it back home until Tuesday, and the house was still smoldering when he arrived to find a pile of rubble where his home once stood. What do you do when that happens? How would you handle it? We're going to find out exactly what Randy did to come out of this devastating situation. None of us want to go through what Randy and his family have endured, but it's helpful to know how to prepare, just in case. So grab a notebook and take some notes. This may save you a lot of pain in the future. Additionally, this episode is much more upbeat than part 1, so we'll have some laughs too. Want to see how it goes?
Come along for the ride in Ken's Think Tank.
Ken's Think Tank is made possible by the following sponsors. Ken Collins Marketing. It's simple. We help small business owners get more customers. Are you tired of the same old boring merchandise? Do you want to add some flair to your life? Introducing Ken's Treasure Chest. We offer a wide variety of unique and high-quality consumer products, from t-shirts to puzzles, phone cases to metal posters. Visit kenstreasurechest.com today and add some treasure to your life. Show our sponsors some love. If you're watching the video, show us some love by smashing the like button. And remember, the views and opinions expressed on Ken's Think Tank do not necessarily reflect those of our sponsors.
Then you're back in town. Your house is actually still on fire, and you're learning that your dogs didn't
some of the remains were still smoldering.
What was left?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There was no house.
There was no house.
There is no spoon, right?
Some of the pieces of what was remaining of your house were on the ground, still smoldering. You learn that your dogs are gone. You already know that everything else you own is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you do at that moment?
You start to make a plan. All right, what do I got to do first? What do I got to do second? I got to make sure my family has what they need. State Farm did a tremendous job. They were my insurance carrier. They were there that first day, and they cut me a check for living expenses. I had really good insurance coverage. They put me up in a hotel. My daughter and son, I think my son stayed at the hotel. My daughter stayed with her mom, and my daughter and her boyfriend stayed with her mom. And we were all kind of in shock because it's just
right.
But you don't want to. Nobody wanted to stand around and dwell on the loss. It was, all right, what do we need to do? And actually, on Tuesday, everything was too hot to do anything. It was still smoldering. So it was, let's see if there's anything we can salvage from here. I had a detached garage, but it caught on fire too, and the car in there was a total loss. there was a little portion of a wall that was still up on that garage, but that was it. So it was just, all right, focus on what we need to do, and you know, I wanted to clean it up and get started rebuilding as soon as possible.
Yeah.
By Wednesday, everything was out. We could walk in the remains and go through it and see if there was anything that we could salvage, and it became clear that there was nothing left. And there were a few things, like, you know, my father was a silversmith, and he had you know, made some jewelry. There were some things that had special meaning to all of us, and we looked for those things, but nothing made it. I mean, it was a very, very hot fire. The only thing left was stainless steel. I had easily 1,000 books in my library, and on the upper floor in my study. And those weren't totally burned. They were in a very big, messy pile on the bottom floor because everything had collapsed in on itself.
Right.
Even the granite countertops and islands there were no pieces bigger than your hand.
Yeah.
It had all just really shattered. So we had a couple of friends actually, that loaned us. One guy loaned us a tractor, and another guy loaned us a Bobcat. And man, we as soon as it cooled off, we initially started going through, and you know, the great thing about technology is that like I started an insurance list on my watch, and I would just say, hey, you know, her name.
Right. We don't want her.
She who shall remain nameless. I don't want her answering me right now.
Right.
But I would say, hey, you know, add this to my insurance list. When I would see something like, oh, add a motorcycle to my insurance list, add this chainsaw to my insurance list. You know, as we would think about it, we would just say it, and started making a very, very long list. And we were going through the rubble and trying to identify some of the things, because I'll tell you, a circular saw does not look like a circular saw after it's burnt. You know.
No.
So it was just, all right, for insurance, let's start gearing up for this process. Let's identify everything that we have. Of course, I had backed up all of my photographs on hard drives that were in the house.
Yeah.
So I've been a photographer for now 40 years, but I had, I don't know, maybe 40,000 pictures. All of them had been digitized, and all of them were on hard drives in the house. So what I would advise everyone to do is take 5 minutes, walk into every room in your house, and just do a quick 10, 15 second video, slowly panning everything in that room.
Yeah.
5 minutes of your life will save you an enormous amount of effort. Because
just to document what you have, because you lose track easily of things. You know, when you come across it, it's very recognizable, and of course you know that you've had that and how long and whatever, but when you have to just dream it up in the middle of a disaster.
And so what I did was we all started making lists of everything we could remember, and Megan, my daughter, would send me a picture from her phone saying, oh, here's a picture in the living room. Let's see what you can find in there. And it's interesting. I had built a chicken coop, and by the way, all the chickens survived.
Wow.
They were outside, the house just on the north side of it, and they were all fenced in, but they made it. Some of them were singed.
Yeah.
I had built a chicken coop, and I had built it in my garage, and I kind of rolled it out and took a picture of it. I don't know, maybe 3-4 months earlier, and I took that photograph off my phone. I lightened it up in Photoshop, and on the back wall I found an additional $10,000 worth of tools and stuff I'd totally forgotten about.
Wow.
So it's really vital to look at all your photographs and spot things like, oh, I forgot about that, or that blanket, or that keepsake. So it turns out that with inflation, we maxed out the policy. So there's some things that we won't be reimbursed for. I even had an inflation rider on my, so it added, I think, another 10% to it, but it won't quite cover all of everything that we had.
Right.
But I probably spent 9 months every day after work, every weekend, logging every item that we had, and then I would have to go on to online and find out what the value of replacing it is, or cost of replacing it is, and then submit all of that information to the insurance company. It has been a major chore.
Yeah.
And then what the insurance company does is they take the item based on how the condition it was in, how long you had it, and they depreciate it a certain amount. And so they may pay you 50% of the value of that item, but if you have replacement cost on your insurance, when you purchase it, they pay you the difference.
Okay.
We've started construction on the new house. It's been almost 20 months since the fire, and construction just started last month. So we're rebuilding the house, and now I've got a 2-year limit to get everything purchased. Mm-hmm. So even though I don't yet have a place to put it, I'm starting to order everything that is eligible for replacement costs. So, one of the great things about losing everything is you get all new stuff. So
shopping.
You like my new jacket?
Right.
Yeah, it's a little too warm today, but it's new.
It's new.
I want to wear it.
Oh man.
There's a Chinese proverb, a story about a Chinese farmer, and I think it's really kind of helped me maintain my perspective. The story goes that he had a horse, and it ran off. And his neighbor said, "Oh man, that's bad luck." And he said, "Maybe it is, maybe it's not." And the next day, the horse comes back, and it has a bunch of wild horses that followed it home. And the neighbor of the farmer said, "Man, that's good luck." And he goes, "Maybe, maybe not." And and then his son broke his leg trying to break some of the new horses. And the neighbor says, "Man, that's bad luck." And he goes, "Maybe, maybe not," right? And the next day, the army came through and conscripted all the young men for the army, and they didn't take his son because his leg was broken. And the neighbor says, "Man, that's good luck." And he goes, "Maybe, maybe not." So there's nothing good about losing my dogs.
No,
they were great pets, and the thought of them suffering is kind of overwhelming. But I lost everything I had, but my family is healthy and safe. I didn't have any possessions, but you kind of learn they're not really that important. But I had good insurance, so now I get to replace those things that I want to. I have to select which things I'm going to replace, but I've come out okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to build I'm building a new house. It's going to be smaller. I took some of the proceeds and I bought 50 acres in the mountains in Colorado. I'm going to build a cabin up there.
Yeah.
So, in some ways I may be better off than I was before the fire. And, I had a lot of stuff, but I'm grateful for what I have now, and I enjoyed what I had while I had it. I never took the home I had. I built it in 2003. I never took it for granted. I loved living in that house, and I love the view. It's a gorgeous view, and now the view's actually better because I had, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70 trees on the property, and they were blocking a good portion of the view. And a few weeks ago, we cut all those trees down, and it just totally opened up the view. So I'll have to plant new trees, but I'll have a better view.
Yeah.
So maybe good, maybe bad, maybe not.
Right. Exactly.
There's a lot of things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And going through the process, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Well, maybe a couple of people.
But I mean, some of
You
it.
grow and you learn about when you go through something like that.
Yeah, some of it is a mindset, right? That you get to kind of like that proverb. You get to choose how you feel about it.
Right. When I got off the phone with my son, made sure he was okay. His mom was with him by then. Grabbed my daughter and son-in-law, and we just cried for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then we were done with that. All right, what do we got to do
Make a
now?
list.
Let's start making a plan.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done. But yeah, it was certainly a devastating loss in technically and on paper, but
Yeah.
it's just stuff.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've been getting good at chainsaws and cutting down stuff and cutting up trees and making plans, and it's been really a good.
You mentioned a lumber mill, like, didn't you?
Sawmill.
A sawmill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you'd like to have maybe a portable sawmill.
Yeah, I've got a lot of trees, and now they're mostly on a hillside, so I've got to get a strategy for getting them off the hillside and into a sawmill. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking about making a lot of lumber out of those trees so that
Yeah.
I can make something of it. And I'm semi-retired. I still do consulting, executive coaching on occasion, but for the most part, I've got a lot of time now to spend my time the way I want to. So,
Right.
making sawdust would be a good way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, dude, sucky situation, but I mean, you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And you're, your head's on straight and the whole bit. And so, and like you mentioned, I mean, the most devastating thing about that would have been to lose family or just have them hurt badly in some way, and none of that happened. So
Yeah, it missed my son by 5 minutes.
yeah,
and I know he thinks that it would have been great to be in the house, so I could let the dogs out.
right, right,
But the risk. I mean, it was fast.
yeah,
In watching the video cam, the guy is talking. He's calling in other units and everything else and he's upgrading it because of the fire response, because it's starting to take off, and
Right.
you can just hear in his voice the panic when it
yeah,
just roars up the hillside,
Man.
and there was just nothing anybody could do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm a fairly smart guy, and I'm pretty capable, and I have some technical savvy. And part of me thinks that if it had to happen to someone, it probably, it's good that it happened to me, because I'm
able to handle
deal with it,
Yeah.
and to maximize the insurance coverage, and
Sure.
go through this extremely complicated process
Right.
of making sure that we get all that's due
Yeah.
to us from the insurance. So
Yeah.
that's one way of looking.
Yeah,
at it.
some people would just be completely lost without any way to too much fog to see the way forward, and what do I do, and writing things on napkins that are getting lost, and
Yeah.
you've got your spreadsheets.
That's
and
right.
the whole thing. You've got she who shall remain nameless
That's right.
helping you, and
That's right. I saw a meme the other day, and it was a guy talking to his phone. He said, "Hey Siri, why can't I have a successful relationship?" And the speaker said, "This is Alexa."
oh my God, that's perfect. Oh, dude,
Thanks for the coffee.
thanks for riding with me, man. It was awesome.
Thanks for the invitation.
Ken's Think Tank is made possible with help from these fine sponsors. Basin Home Health and Hospice, keeping you healthy, happy, and home since 1992. Durango Joe's, with a smile, a warm greeting, and a great cup of coffee.